Live from the lavatory. Welcome to the Close Traffic Podcast, an aviation and flight simulation show. Welcome aboard.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Close Traffic Podcast, an aviation and flight simulation show. I'm Johnny, and along with me is... Oh, wait a minute. That's just me. I kid. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I'm running solo today. It's a Monday. We try to get these guys recorded or streamed during the weekends, but things happen, adulting happened. But nevertheless, here we are. Just a couple of things I wanted to touch on tonight, though. Didn't want to really dive into too terribly much. There's been a lot of events. I don't know what FSExpo that's transpired a couple of weeks ago, and I've had a couple of thoughts on it. I wanted to share with the community just to kind of I don't know, provide some feedback or whatnot, and with the just the tons of presentations that were put forth, and just man, a lot of good stuff for sure. In addition, there's a couple of releases I wanted to hit on, and one I'm just super late for, but nevertheless, let's get right to it. So FSExpo, what'd you guys think? Was it all that you were thinking of, or was it a bust? I don't know. For me, I think the hardware really took the show for me. There were a lot of software related um, news developments that I thought were pretty cool, especially with the I think everyone's attention kind of instantly got taken by the A220. Since I don't know, I mean, have we ever had one like ever? Right. um with Synoptic working with any builds, I think that's going to be a pretty sweet deal. But I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I've been kind of wondering about the hardware space. I'm just a little curious, especially with the whole honeycomb fiasco, the past few years. What was to come of us honeycomb users. I'm looking at an Alpha right here and my Bravo right here. It's like, what do we do? What do we do? We're freaking out. No, I was kidding. But I don't know. I mean, I think there's hope. Just looking at what Nikki had to say in the press brief, and Wing Wing has just been, I don't know. Again, I've been following Wing Wing for a little over a couple of years now. I've got several of their products, but it was mostly just in the combat flight simulation realm. Nothing in the nothing along the terms of civilian aviation. And all of a sudden, boom, they've made this huge wave in the civilian flight simulation industry. I don't know, guys, I'm totally here for it. But I don't know. I guess the first thought that I had, and this just kind of taking it back to Nikki's presentation. And I know it's been a troubled history, with the business dealings that that fell through for him in the past or whatnot, and the impact that his issue had with the community, all of his customers who are all of Honeycomb's customers who purchased their products. And I was listening and paying attention to Nikki, but at the same time, I was really paying attention to the audience's energy, and you can you could definitely tell the vibe. You can definitely tell that, there is some excitement there, but I heard more idle chat in the background. I don't know if you guys caught that as well. Maybe it's just me being weird, but I heard a lot of idle chat in the background and people just kind of like, very nonchalant. It wasn't like, I guess just to put a horrible comparison, like, someone, doing a press brief for the latest iPhone. Wait a minute, I'm sorry, that's horrible, horrible. I mean, we know the iPhone 17 is gonna be same as the 16. Horrible comparison. I don't know, this latest and greatest gadget. Someone's doing a press brief, and everyone's just on bated breath for the bomb to drop, right? Um, and I don't know. I just the energy felt off, and it's just like Johnny Hacking totally. It's like, were you talking about energies and all the waveforms? What were you talking about? No, it's just I don't know. Just looking and listening to a lot of the feedback I've been hearing, I think there's still quite a few in the community that feel away or felt away when um all of a sudden, the company was just in, Honeycomb was just kind of in turmoil, and no one really had an idea, what was going to happen as it relates to their orders, as it relates to continued support, and heaven forbid you had, a Honeycomb yoke or Bravo that was on the fritz. It's like, who's going to continue to support these products? And I get it. I totally get it. However, um, I have to say, and this is just my personal opinion. Now, I would love to get your guys' opinion. Please feel free to post them in the chat or on Facebook or wherever you're subscribed or listening to us. Um, in my opinion, I will have to say that Honeycomb was probably the most innovative piece of hardware that I've ever purchased in a very, very long time. And that's just a fact. Just simply based on the fact that, most of us, for example, I purchased a Wing F16 stick, it's sitting right here. A lot of times I kind of, it feels so amazing. A lot of times you just kind of subconsciously grab it or whatnot. But anywho, squirrel. But no, most of your hardware peripherals are specifically designed to, as a one-to-one or an approximation of, whatever, whether it be a 737 yoke or a Beechcraft, King Air yoke, right? Or I don't know, an F15 or F16 throttle, right? It's specifically designed to mimic one particular piece of, equipment or an aircraft or whatnot. Um, but Honeycomb was probably one of the first where you had a level of flexibility that I don't think I've seen in any piece of hardware prior to or since. And that, ladies and gentlemen, puts me in a very weird predicament. And as much as I want to be, like, um I'm taking my business elsewhere, this and this and that. I hate to say it. I mean, you almost kind of have to just look past, what transpired, and I guess, forgive and forget. Is that the right word, ladies and gentlemen? Is that what is that what we're talking about? Just um especially those. Unfortunately, I've had no issues with none of my gear. Um, you know, didn't really have any. I'm trying to think if I had an issue. I think I had one problem with my Alpha where I had to send it back. That was like that was well before everything kind of came tumbling down, and they shipped me a new one, no issues. But it's easy for me to say, okay, of course, forgive and forget, and let's see what they do this time. But those of us who, ran into an unfortunate series of events to where something happened to your yoke or happened to your piece of honeycomb gear, and you slipped through the cracks, as it relates to support, and didn't really get the support that you deserve. I can totally understand how what I'm saying is probably just absolute malarkey. Totally get that. But, I was listening to the presentation, and I mean, well, I guess what the company's called now, what, Meridian GMT, I guess Honeycomb and Meridian kind of, or Nikki and Honeycomb kind of went their separate ways or something like that. And now Nikki has this company called Meridian GMT. I hope he succeeds. I mean, his vision is very ambitious. Especially when he started talking about price points, and you can see the passion there. You can definitely see the energy. However, um, unfortunately, sometimes what we envision and the unfortunate reality, can be two totally different things. Hopefully we all hope that it leans more towards this vision. Um, but I think we're all kind of subject to the terms and conditions of what things cost and manufacturing and logistics and all that. Because I have, just kind of to paraphrase what some of the discussions he was having during the presentation. I think it was kind of like a Q&A section or whatnot. He was, his idea of entry level was like $100, right? Tell me, ladies and gentlemen, tell me, CTP family, what of anything flight sim related hardware wise is $100? Don't worry, I'll wait. I mean, I'm trying to think. Gee whiz, what is that's not something terribly small or minute hardware wise. That's $100. It's really, and again, I get it. I totally understand. What he's trying to do. He's trying to make this thing affordable and easy to put out to the masses. And hydration moment, ladies and gentlemen. Brought to you by. I was kidding. No, we're not sponsored. Not yet. That's good. But I totally love what he's trying to go after, but it just really remains to be seen. I even I tried to do a little research. I pulled up Meridian GMT, and it's just not a whole lot there. And again, guys, what I mean, just looking at the Tango, for example, looks absolutely amazing. It looks amazing. You know, um, he was kind of going through, some of their, you know, um, some of the reasoning is as why they made some of the design decisions that they did. They were looking at doing motorized trim wheels, like his where he's at, and the level of his, in his level of thinking and immersion in what he's trying to accomplish, and some of these products. It's just you don't see that. You don't see that often at all. And one thing I think I know I agree with him on is the hardware sector. Aside from Wing, they're just Lord knows they're definitely an exception to the rule. It's fairly stagnant. It's fairly stagnant. There's not a whole lot of movement in that realm, and I kind of get it. Now it's probably not just a super profitable you know, area and or facet of flight simulation. So that I totally get. However, in that stagnation, you got this lack of innovation that coincides that. And it kind of, it kind of stinks for the consumer, right? Because we're left with, very few options. Albeit, you have a few out there. You have our good friends over at Yaman that did the controller, which is great. I think Turtle Beach, they're doing something with like Xbox, or and then there's another company out there. I don't, I don't recall at the moment. You have Virpil. I think I remember Virpil doing like a Kickstarter or something for a yoke setup, but it's not really mass produced or out yet. So, it's really for me, it's just been Honeycomb. Like I feel like sending the Phoenix, or I swap my little levers on my Bravo and boom, I'm good to go. Or, if I feel like sending PMDG 737, right? Pop my Boeing sticks on there, boom, off to the races. Unless you're dealing with the pesky control setup with 2024. Not sure if you guys still dealing with that, but I totally am. And yeah, come on, Soto, get it together. Get it together. Nevertheless, you guys get my point. Um, so when he's showcasing the Tango, I can't help but be excited. However, I totally understand, the sentiment of I'll never buy anything from, anything that he runs again. I can see that, I can totally see that. But then at the same time, there's not very many people that I've seen in the industry as passionate about, what he's looking to accomplish than, from what I've seen in Nikki. So, um, hope it works out for him again. Meridian GMT. I mean, just he's proposing a level of flexibility that we haven't seen in anything. That's all I have to say, but definitely looking to hear more from it. And heck, I mean, we'll see what FSExpo 2026 has to offer, and in terms of that. Another company that I mean, of course, they always pique my interest every time they mention anything, and they continuously get my money, just I don't know, spontaneously. But anyway, Windwing, they announced like an entire lineup. I mean, it's these guys they're doing so. In addition to the Airbus products I already have, they're introducing more Airbus products, and they're also introducing some MiG 29 products. Um, and force feedback looks to be the name of the game. I'm looking at a lot of these joystick bases, and you can see that massive motor on that they're connected to. And yeah, you're definitely in for some newtons of force, or whatever unit of measurement you want to use for force. You're definitely in for that when some of these release. I also see what it looks like a 737 yoke. Like they're looking to release here. Orion rudder pedals, they're going to be legit. Um, some looks like some MCPs, a radio panel for the Airbus. You guys have seen it. Anybody who's been following this industry has seen their definitely seen their product line and what they're offering during their conference, and these price points. I mean, they're amazing. Really good price points there. I mean, it looks like they're doing an eCam panel as well. For $77. I mean, you just can't beat it. Heck, I ended up picking up their McDo day one cop for me. Oh, that force feedback. I already know, Charlie. I already know it was a day one for you, man. I didn't even bother. Oh, cool. The little chat works in the live stream thingy. Sweet. Hydration break, ladies and gentlemen. But but yeah, man, it's just gonna be going to be a really, really awesome year for those of you who have the space to fit all this stuff. They're auto switching force feedback models by aircraft. Like that's just insane. Looking at this Boeing yoke here. However, they haven't released the price point on the yoke, so it's going to be. I'm curious to see what they're looking to offer in terms of that. But I mean, hardware wise, guys, that was really it for me. I don't know. It was um uh okay, just being frank, guys. I really just wasn't blown away. Um and I think the reason why I wasn't blown away because a lot of the releases we kind of already knew about. Hey, guy, question, bro. Sure, man. Shoot. Um, but now just to finish my thought real quick. But yeah, I guess I wasn't really blown away because a lot of what was presented, most of us kind of already knew. Um, especially software wise, I know there were there was some talk about again the 757. I mean, we get a video about every other week from Bluebird, so we kind of knew where that was going. Love you, Bluebird, just saying. Just yeah. uh so we get a video, get some pretty pretty consistent news updates from Bluebird. um you know Man, guys, that was really it. I did see one thing that I thought was pretty sweet. With Miltech, bringing a looked like a UH-60 to the fold there. But again, I mean, a lot of really cool and innovative presentations. A lot of, I think there was one where they were using AI to build a flight sim. That's cool. I mean, that's awesome. Uh, um, a lot of really really cool um, add-ons and features that were presented. No Tolis showcases 340 600. One thing I did, because most of you guys know we didn't go this year. Close Traffic Podcast didn't go this year for one reason or another. I know for me, we the wife had a prior engagement which I was unable to escape, and that's my story. I am sticking to it. So thankfully Charlie and Mike aren't on right now. But no, it's good. But yeah, no, we legit had a prior engagement there. But I mean, aside from that, yeah, we'll just kind of have to see what the rest of the year brings. Um, Trying to think of one exhibit I wish I would have had one booth which would have had a chance to visit. Aside from our good friends over at HPG, Steve. But no, Leonardo Designs, they actually had a booth there this year. They were showcasing MD-80, which I've been a happy owner of the MD-80 for dang near 20 years. So I mean, I've flown it quite a bit, but they had a booth there this year. So it's just, you see the growth. I mean, I think that's absolutely amazing. So if 2025 was this, I can't imagine what 2026 is going to look like, and it's going to be absolutely amazing for sure. What do my eyes spy next to the MD-80? What did you add to collection? No, man. What? Oh, the model collection. Like what got taken out in the collection? So, one 5-year-old. I'm not going to drop any names, Charlie. Somehow made its way into the office, and of course, you see the 787 there and the MD-80, which it survived the onslaught because it's the Mad Dog, and it's like, yes, built like tanks, right? But they were all on little stands, kind of like the 787, and I had the I had the Avro. The Avro's back there. She's in the hangar. She's in the maintenance hangar still, and he got in here and knocked some of the models down, and then put them back as if no one would notice. And I think what okay, so I'm missing half of the horizontal stabilizer on the Avro, and the Mad Dog suffered a slight bend on the rudder, but we straightened it out, and she's back in service now, on par with probably any World Mad Dog. Oh, yes, we'll straighten that out there, and put her back in service, and that's exactly what happened. The Avro, she's probably out for good. The 787 survived. But yeah, so that's what happened. Yeah, I'm trying to see. Yeah, man, I kind of knew it was coming because I had some more models I had in order, and then I thought better of it. I was like, you know what? Let me just not do that because, yeah, kids, you know, they're great. They said, yeah, all that. So, uh, oh man, but yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah, so Synoptics A220, and again, as far as aircraft presentations, I think this was the one that really kind of stuck out to me because I mean we totally need a 220, like bad. And I'm not talking about like, on the exterior it's a 220, but on the interior it's a panel of a 172 or Learjet or something. I mean, or Learjet 45 or whatever default panel they have on there these days. I don't know, but um, when I first kind of heard about Synoptic and builds partnering up, I figured we were going to see some movement here pretty soon, and it looks absolutely amazing. Pretty much I'm thinking, everything that we're seeing in the 350 now, we're going to see in the 220 model. Of course, it looks beautiful. I mean, it's a 220. I mean, they're gorgeous birds, I mean, need I see more? um Yeah, absolutely gorgeous birds. Can't wait for them. And will we see it mid 2020? I don't know, guys. What do you think? Do you guys think we'll see the 220 and 25? Not sure. I don't know. Some of these releases or products or projects, however you want to classify them, sometimes it's just best not to even think about until they release. Because I know there's a few big ones I'm really just chomping at the bit for. I know for me it's the Learjet 45 that Just Flight's working on, which I mean they're still showing like rendering. So I mean I don't think we're gonna see anything anytime soon. And the Fokker 70 and the 100, which I mean I think it's like in beta. Maybe we'll see it, maybe not. I don't know. But as they all say, it will release when it release. So, that's kind of the thought process I've taken on it, and just been kind of rolling with that, and that's how I keep my sanity. But um, we did actually get a recent release that I thought was, I was pretty excited for, but then it's, I kind of once, I got it in hand or got it downloaded or purchased or whatnot. I don't know, guys. I was a little disappointed, but then I kind of, I was like, well, it's to be expected because you got companies like Black Square, and that just set the bar so dang high. But turboprop related. But Any Bills recently released the F406 Caravan 2. Um which is a twin engine turboprop. The F406 variant that I'm more familiar with had the Garrett TPE 331s. This variant has the Pratt Whitney PT6As, I believe. And so I was a little kind of about that because we really don't have any legit direct driven, and sorry, just, nerd alert, but we really don't have many direct driven turboprop offerings out there. Pretty much everything we've been seeing here lately is just kind of straight Pratt and Whitney, which is great. I'm totally here for it, but I don't know. It'd been kind of nice to, get something a little different. And so I don't know, to see that it was another PT6. It's kind of a Buzz Killington for me. However, sounds are really good. It flies amazingly well. I'll give them that. It flew amazingly well. However, I'm going to say this, and some people may say it's totally petty and insignificant, but I'm going to say it anyway. The developers, please, when you guys drop aircraft, if at all possible, please include either A, dynamic registrations, or B, some variety as it relates to tail numbers. I'm going to leave it at that. Because you get these aircraft and they'll have, and me, like, for example, I frequent VAT sim quite often. And I know everybody's just like eye rolling right now. It's like, oh my gosh, here we go. But I frequent VAT sim quite often, and maybe it's just how my weird brain works, but when I look at a tail number and I'm working on my flight, like that's what that's what I'm naturally going to try to call when, I'm following my flight plan. Let's say, I'm on a 232 Bravo Mike, and 232 Bravo Mike is painted on the airplane. I'm going to follow this 232 Bravo Mike. I mean, I don't know. But, a lot of the liveries we got were, had European tail numbers, which is fine. But it was just trying to get, okay, I'm calling, 172 Sierra Tango or whatever. But, you look at the panel and there's like a little reminder because, sometimes you have pretty much everything I've been in, have the little placard where, your tail number is and or the registration number, and you're calling and you're like, Gulf, bro, wait a minute, it's just, I don't know, maybe that's me, maybe that's totally me, and that's okay. I'll be on that hill by myself. However, um offer a little variety as it relates to tail numbers. Okay, I'll leave it at that because I'm sure someone's going to jump on FlightSim.2 and drop us, a livery pack, and I'll pretend like this conversation never happened. However, all I'm saying is sprinkle a little variety. That's it. All right. PSA over. Now back to the airplane. Modeling looks absolutely amazing. No qualms with that. Turboprop modeling, again, it's like, okay, when you're blown away, like for example, trying to put this in context, let's take it over to the X-plane realm for a minute. You put, I don't know, 50 some odd hours in the Hot Start 650, and then you transition into something not as high fidelity, but something like in the same category or class. And it's like, wow, this is cool. But then it's like, you're not blown away. It's nothing groundbreaking, and it leaves a lot to be desired. And not that it, because the product is bad. It's just that bar has been set that dang high, and I think that's kind of the problem I've ran into with a lot of GA aircraft here and lately, more specifically turboprops. The bar has been set so darn high until you get in anything else and you notice the little nuances that, man, I'm just going to call it the black square Starship captures when it, comes to operating a turboprop, and you don't see it in anything else. Not that it's the developer's fault. It's not that they've set the expectation or anything like that. It's just because it was here, but then you're in another aircraft and it's not. And it's like, okay, all right, this is cool. Flies nice. This is cool. This is cool. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Maybe after a few updates and another feeling update here in livery there, I think we'll be good to go. I think we'll be good to go. But I mean, they put a lot of work into it. Looks like they worked in conjunction with the company that does these modifications to the aircraft to give it that STOL like performance. The F406 is a very utilitarian aircraft, hence the Caravan 2. It's literally a twin engine truck, right? Again, the ones that I'm familiar with, they all have Garretts in them, and so you deal with the nuances that one deals with when you're dealing with direct driven turboprops. You get the intense noise and all that, but then you get the fuel efficiency as well. But looks like they who was it, RVL Group, they had direct access to an aircraft. So again, modeling wise, superb. Looks like they did like 3D scans and interviewed pilots and documentations. Again, they nailed the freaking flight modeling. Holy smokes. They nailed it. I mean, I'm talking about like you're departing, and if you want to trim that thing out, for 100 knots, and 500 feet per minute, you can do it. I mean, you can do it. I mean, it's just that solid. And but again, it's like, okay, once you kind of got past that, the circuit breakers are modeled. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, it could just totally me being spoiled by Black Square and their wizardry. But as far as it's like, okay. Question is, Johnny, was is a copper pass? Depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that that meets the mission profile, something you can take off, take off and land and unprepared strips, Fowler, something that has a STOL capability with Fowler flaps and all that. Totally recommend it. Again, it's a solid airplane. If you're just looking for a something that you want to haul boxes in or whatever, it has the modeling to accompany that. It has a let me look here. It has a cargo variant, passenger transport, surveillance, maritime patrol, and environmental response. So, as I mentioned, a very utilitarian airplane. Really cool. So yeah, I mean, I'll give it a cop. If I had to rate it like 1 out of 10, I'll give it like a 7.5. Solid 7.5. 7.5, 8. It probably would have totally gotten an 8 had they added a little more variety in the registrations. Sorry, y'all. I'm just saying. I've had this conversation with others before, and it was like, oh my gosh, let it go, Johnny. I'm trying, guys. I'm working on it. But so yeah, that was that. That was the F106. I know in the builds also they have not been asleep at the wheel. They've been definitely diligent in their aircraft releases. They have been dropping a myriad of updates for the 350, which I hadn't been in that darn thing in forever, but they've been cooking. Looks like they released the ULR variant, which I'm not an Airbus guy. Our Airbus guy is not available at the moment. But the ULR one, I believe it's ultra long range. Don't ask me the specifics on it because I don't know. I'm assuming it's ultra long range, but no, it's it's a pretty solid update. I haven't flown it yet. I did download. I haven't flown it yet. In addition, it was like it was either during or after Expo they released some cabin packs, and it was funny. I'm curious to know the backstory on this, but when it first dropped, they released. I want to say it was for like $10, and then all of a sudden the price went away. Like they removed the price. So what happened in the bills? Did people? I'm almost wondering if they kind of had the same response I did when I saw it. I'm like, wait a minute, you're like, I don't know. And not that it bothers me that that they want to charge, but then it's like I guess I was more taken aback or surprised that, okay, you're charging for a cabin pack. I mean, that's cool. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I really wasn't in need for a cabin pack, but I mean, okay, I get it. I don't know if it was just a lot of that, or it was just an honest mistake, or what. I don't know, but it seemed like shortly thereafter. In fact, let me look here. Let me go to my in the builds. Let me go to my in the builds app and see if they're still charging for it. I don't think so. I think they probably ended up. I think they ended up taking it down. Last I looked, they took it down. And it's free now. Oh, okay. Yep, it's free now. So yeah, you can add it. What cabins did they put in here? I forget. I'm not much of a cabin guy. Okay, like this one here, I'm looking at British Airways, Lufthansa, Virgin Atlantic, and Air France. So, I mean, gorgeous cabins. It's just I don't know. But yeah, so I seen that. I was like, that's kind of weird. All right. But aside from that, I mean, just a lot of uh tons of updates to this thing. You can definitely tell it's a labor of love for them, for sure. I used to fly that thing quite a bit though, because surprisingly, Delta had quite a few domestic routes, and I flew the snot out of that. Yeah, I flew the snot out of those for sure. Like the latest update, for example, looks like. Sorry, I'm bouncing between screens here. The latest updates includes a heads-up display and with the Xbox version coming, I guess, next week. Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, heads-up display looks amazing. You got BTV and all the correct symbologies, improvements and system logic. Yeah, I mean, it's legit. It's totally legit. Um, but I don't know, guys. I hadn't been flying that lately. I'm gonna tell you guys why I have been flying, and I'm gonna say this. I owe this particular developer an apology. Um, Hydration break. But so through I didn't plan on making this purchase, but so I was gifted, I was gifted some credits or whatever for Aerosoft, and I was looking to say, what can I spend these credits on or whatever, and I went ahead and did a thing that I said I totally wouldn't do, and truthfully, had it not have been borderline free, I wouldn't have done it. But I went ahead and picked up Flight Sim. Is it Flight Sim Studios, guys? I think. Yeah, Flight Sim Studios 727. You guys are like, oh my gosh, really? Yeah, totally did it. Totally did it. And I was highly impressed. Flight Sim Studios, well done. CTP clap. I know you have a little clapping thingy here, but well done. And I apologize because I believe there was an episode where I'm just like, okay, no one cares about 727. And That's not entirely true. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say why, because I think it was all about the timing for me that really threw me off. It's not that, I personally didn't care about the 727. Um, I grew up, looking at airport pictures and it be inundated with nothing but, you go to Memphis and there's nothing but Northwest Airlines 727s. Um, Delta Airlines 727s, American 727s. And just to, further expound on how awesome the 727 is, in my opinion, I think it was Boeing's last airplane to where they said, "Hey, we're not making any compromises. We're going to engineer the crap out of this thing to the point to where airlines will want to buy it. We're not going to try to, make it cheap. We're not going to try to get it at a price point to where it's affordable. No, we're going to engineer the dog crap out of this thing. It's going to check so many boxes until no matter what the airlines have to pay, they'll know they'll make their money back." And that was the 727. That's why they're still, beating down the jungles down in South America now, even to this day. So I've always had mad respect and love for the 727. In fact, there was a company, aside from Captain Sim, because I did get the Captain Sim one, and that was total, you know what? But there was a company called Dream Fleet. Oh, I wonder if there's still websites still up. Oh my gosh, you guys got me strolling down memory lane here. Dream Fleet 727. Yes. No, the website's not there anymore. I don't think so. No. I'm looking. Oh man. Right down memory lane. Well, anyway, there was a company called Dreamfleet. They did some amazing work back around the FXX days and all that. But I purchased their. They did a 727. Then they did the Super 27, which was a 727-200, which had winglets and then upgraded Pratt Whitney engines. I think they're like the 219, the JT8Ds dash 219s or dash 29 somethings, whatever. Anyway, because what happened, just to kind of, nerd alert, what happened was basically the 727-100 was the bees freaking knees. Freaking pilots loved it, passengers loved it, everybody loved it. So Boeing was like, riddle me this, Batman. What would happen if we just took the airplane making longer? So let's just pause it right there. Okay. Let's fast forward back to like here recently. What happens when you take an airplane, same engines, same everything, and just add I don't know, a 20-foot plug in it, make it longer? What do you guys think happens? You guessed it. So, the performance wasn't as good as the 727-100. So, what some manufacturers did, they introduced, of course, it was STC'd and all that, but they introduced upgrades to um, put a few extra ponies in the back there, for lack of better words. There were, of course, I forget the company that did them, but basically they'll put, higher rated Pratt and Whitney's on the back. In addition, there's a winglet modification, some other modification, of course, hush kits, because eventually the thing was so, once the noise abatement became more of a thing or whatnot. I mean, that pretty much is what pushed the 727 out of the States. It wasn't because it was an underperformer. In fact, to this day, it was one of the fastest commercial aircraft out there. I mean, the thing would do like 0.90. I did a lot of research on the 727 back in the day, and there were tons of testimonials where pilots would just be riding the barber pole like, like someone in a rodeo, 0.88, 0.90 all day long. no issues. So, and they've captured that as well. Went again, I did a few trips with it throughout the weekend, and you can definitely, you set her up for 0.88, 0.89, and then I got a little braver. I'm like, well, heck, let's just do full send, right? We're in the sim, did that 0.90, and man, she just, now you're gonna guzzle a ton of go juice doing it, but dang it, you're gonna get there pretty quick. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. What an amazing time where fuel consumption wasn't a thing. We'll just dump a truckloads of gas into it as long as we get there on time, right? That was the thought process back in those days. So what a time to be in. Huh. Anyway, so but that's what happened. Um but yeah, so I was really impressed. I know one of the biggest deals, especially us as swimmers, is a lot of us, we're, unless you're doing like a shared cockpit functionality or whatever, for the most part, we're running these things ourselves, and it's, I mean, or unless you're in like an Airbus and it's like whatever, I was kidding. Sorry, Mike, but you know, uh, it can be a challenge, and especially when you start introducing, additional tasks, such as, if you're man running like a passenger app, or if you're in that sim or say intentions or anything like that, it can get pretty busy. So it was nice to see that, which Dream Fleet had something similar to that, as, or did they? I want to say they did. Pretty sure they did. But they FSS introduced, it's like a virtual engineer, so it handles basically that file engineers panel for you. Or if you're feeling froggy enough, you can do the whole thing and rip your hair out. But most of us, if they're working all day or whatever, we don't want to pull our hair out. Well, we don't want to pull our hair out, or what hair we do have left, some of us, right? But we want to, be stressed, right, and trying to enjoy the sim. So you can, between the EFB that they incorporate, which I love the spin that they did on it. And again, this thing's been out like a year, so probably, so like to a lot of you guys, this is probably totally old news, and you guys are like, whatever. Like, well, I mean, are you this late, Johnny? Seriously? But yeah, I totally am this late. Um, but the way they implement the EFB in such a way was, this is not very, it's not out of place. It's like a binder or a pamphlet, not a pamphlet, but like a binder, for example, that has like your aircraft settings, all this. And even, I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen streams of it, and it's very, very intuitive. Um, they've also integrated, multiple means of navigation to get from point A to point B, and a lot of them aren't out of the realm of plausibility. I mean, there are 727s out there with a freaking GTN 750. I had to look it up, but yeah, there are totally 727s out there with a GTN 750 slapped in them, which again, to me, further reinforces my point of how overly built this freaking thing is. We're like, okay, this thing's outlasted the freaking navigation system that it was installed in, which most aircraft do. However, it's like, what can we put in here to give our flight crews the the best situational awareness, and more longevity out of this thing? I don't know. And it's probably, and it's along the lines of what most of us simmers think. Let's toss a GTN 750. And call it slick. That's typically what we do, right? 172 GTN 750. Piper Cub GTN 750. Space Shuttle GTN 750. That's what we're doing. So GTN, it integrates quite well. I would like to see an FMS. I know towards the latter years, especially when FedEx and UPS started to operate them, I would love to see like a UNS put in them, UNS-1 or something like that. Whichever flight management system they threw in there, would love to see that. Um, and then there are definitely a lot of avionics upgrades to kind of bring it more to like that 20th century type vibe, which I'm hoping which I believe the Super 27 um, um, I don't know if it's an upgrade. Well, it's probably a completely different aircraft. But when that Super 27 does drop out, I want to say, don't quote me on this, guys. I want to say there's going to be some additional avionics options as well. So that being said, guys, definitely take the opportunity to if you guys have been on the fence like forever and a day like me, definitely take the opportunity to check it out. I'm probably going to end up picking up the passenger version as well out of my own pocket because it's just been that awesome. So I know the guys will be like, "Oh my gosh, I knew he was going to rant about that 727." Yeah, it's just been that good for me. So um again, shout out to FSS. Sincerely apologize. But we still need VNAV and that EJet. Just saying, guys. Still need VNAV and Jet EJet, which they're actively working on. So when it releases, I'm sure we will all be there. So but I don't know, I don't know, guys. What do you think? You guys think the EJet's gonna be? I mean, modeling wise, it was already legit. I mean, it was yeah, it was solid modeling wise. Never really had an issue with it. It was just the fact that, you know, I don't know, the whole VNAV. And truthfully, especially if you're on VATSIM, I mean, I don't think I just left VNAV on even in the X Crash, which I think, yeah, it does have VNAV compatibility. But even then, it just, I mean, you're either in vertical speed or FPA mode or something like that. So it's not even really you just press VNAV and put my feet back and let it do its thing. No, so I don't know. But yeah, so again, shout out to FSS. I'm eating crow. I'll get it. I get it. I don't know, guys. So have you guys heard of CSS? Commercial simulation systems, I believe. I know they recently was talking about dropping. I think they had planned on dropping and then postponed it. Um, but it was kind of like a subscription, or it was one of the options were a subscription based program for their 737. Looks like a 500. I had it here in my notes for like forever ago, and I forgot to talk about it. But it's a 737 Classic family, and I don't know, guys. And I think this kind of goes back for me being just completely 737 out. I'm still 737 out, even and that's, I don't know, and just kind of going back to the whole 727 thing. To me, it's just like once Boeing kind of hit, towards the 737, it was just been kind of rinse and repeat since then. Once they, after the 757 came out and all that, hey, let's just ride the 737 till the wheels fell off. And I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, I think the wheels have officially fallen off. They're falling off, gone. I mean, we're just on rims right now. Um, past we're past the wheels, and we're just like on axles at this moment. So I just, yeah. Um, but yeah, going back to the CSS 737 Classic. Looks like it's gonna have all your usuals here. I don't know. Looks like you can either do a one-time purchase of $120, or a per month basis of $5, or annual subscription of $50. Hey, yeah, I'll leave that right where it's at. But I mean, it looks good. Definitely looks good, but I don't know. I don't know. TFDI recently released a pretty substantial update for the MD-11. Unfortunately, I had to uninstall my 2020 platform, and due to for whatever reason, I don't know if you guys have had this, but for whatever reason, I just started getting hard random graphics driver errors. Didn't do anything in the graphics driver or anything like that. And it's just in that sim, nothing else. So, I took it as a sign. I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just need to uninstall it, call it slick. And that's exactly what I did, and haven't had issues since. So haven't had the pleasure of trying out the MD11, although I've been chomping at the bit too. So hopefully when it comes over to 24, we'll have the opportunity to check it out. Next one, going back to Aerosoft, they updated the CRJ, and holy smokes, the flight modeling is a complete 180. My lord, it flies amazing, in my opinion. Um, Having the opportunity to participate in the beta. I think Hans did an amazing job. Shout out to Got Gravel as well. Did an amazing job with the FM. I can't say more. There are a lot of other hands in the pot as well as it relates to assisting with the update. Shout out to your CFI. You guys can check him out on YouTube as well, because not only is he a real world CRJ 700 900 driver, but he also played a pivotal role in getting the aircraft to a state to where you guys see today. And he also posts content regarding it as well. So if you want to know how to fly the freaking thing, check out. Don't go to anyone. It's just, I don't know. Like, if I have an opportunity, okay, I got this person here. They stream, or show off whatever, and they provide the tutorial on it. But I have someone who actually flew the freaking thing. Let's just go to who actually flew the freaking thing. I'm just saying. um not taking anything away from anyone else, which is like, okay, you flew the freaking thing. So, but yeah, he provides a lot of insight as it relates to how to operate it. Some of the nuances in flying it, some of the, gotchas with it. Just really, really solid content. I'll post his YouTube channel in the description as well. Again, shout out to your CFI. But yeah, I mean, you pair this thing with the Boris sound pack. Sheesh. It is the regional jet for 2020 and 2024. I mean, if you want a regional jet, someone asked me, hey Stalker Johnny, what's a RJ for 2024? Ready, go. CRJ, Aerosoft CRJ. Yep. So, need I say more, ladies and gentlemen? You guys are probably already flying it. You guys are probably flying it right now as we speak. So, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, just, and I also, again, want to give a shout out to, Aerosoft and Hans and the team for just not dropping this thing and just leaving it to its devices, and hoping someone releases a hot tool mod for it to get it up to par. They rolled up their sleeves and went after it, and again, it definitely shows. Very, very impressed with the team for sure. So, if you guys hadn't picked it up, now would probably be a good time to definitely check it out. So, all right, my favorite portion, I wanted to just touch on Just Flight just a little bit, because there was also some news from Black Square and the Just Flight team, and he's doing another turboprop. And I'm here for it, guys. He blew away the Starship, and you guys just, I don't know. Most of us didn't even know there was a thing called a Starship, or what the heck Starship is, whatever, aside from Starship Enterprise. We get it. If you guys are just remotely curious on, turboprop operation or anything like that in 2024, pick up the Black Square Beechcraft Starship. Pick it up. Don't ask questions. Just pick it up. And I want to say, I think there's been a lot of feedback from the forums that the Duke also works just fine in 24. But I don't know. I haven't even bothered to bring it over because I've been kind of waiting for like the official notification, like, hey, it's officially ready now. Um, but looks like our good friends over at Black Square are going to be releasing a Commander 690B. Um, which, not sure if you guys have heard the Aero Commander, but it's very similar to the Shrike 500 flown by um, just absolutely renowned aviator Bob Hoover, CTP salute, and quite a few variants built. One of the cool things about the 690B is it's not a Pratt and Whitney PT6 driven airplane. It's actually driven by the Garrett TPE 331 direct drive turboprop engines, which is a bit of a departure from the free driven turboprops that Pratt and Whitney's are, that we're very familiar with and that the sim is set up for, from what I understand. So I'm really curious to see how he attacks this one, but I know it's probably going to be legit. But looks like he's doing, I see a 690B and a 685. So is that going to be a piston driven variant? Yeah. So he's doing a piston driven variant as well. Oh my lord. Instant cop. Instant cop. So keep an eye out for Black Square. They're not done. They're not done, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, they are not done. Uh Need I say more? Need I say more? But I also want to say that if you guys are still in 2020, there's a myriad of Black Square products out there already. I think they did some modifications with the default King Air. I've heard really good things about. Of course, there's the Duke. There's Turbine Duke, Piston Duke. Of course, the Starship. Um, and something else I'm missing as well. The Velocity. He also did a twin Velocity, or is it a single engine Velocity? I forget. But there's a Velocity over there as well. All of them I've thoroughly enjoyed. So take advantage, guys. Definitely take advantage. If you're not familiar with Black Square and want to check out some of his work, start there for sure. All right. A2A simulations. You guys kind of forgot about A2A, right? I didn't, because I was waiting for this one. But they finally released their Aerostar 600 in early access. So for me, it's not so much of the early access portion that kind of gets me. It's the fact that they did the 600 instead of like the 601P, which is the pressurized variant, or the 701, if I'm not mistaken, Aerostar, which of course, I mean, it's A2A, right? So they're going to come with, I mean, they could do a hang glider and it's going to be the most high fidelity hang glider out there. But I was really hoping for the pressurized version to really take advantage of, the sleekness and the fact that this is, I want to say it still holds the title as the world's fastest piston driven aircraft. Keep me honest, those of you who know. But at least at one point, it was the world's fastest piston driven aircraft. So this one is more, the Aerostar 600 tends to be, let's say, we're in the market for Aerostar, right? And we're trying to get one on the cheap. All right. We wanted that, we wanted the Aerostar, discount on the cheap. So the Aerostar 600 is one of those, as it's trimmed out, you can probably pick one up for like 150K. But of course, you get into like the 601 pressurized, the 701, whatever it is, high performance ones, and you get in like $250,000 or whatnot. So the one that they've done, from what I've seen, is kind of like on the entry level side, and the panel somewhat trimmed out that way. One of the unique features is the fact that the nose wheel steering is electrically actuated, if I'm not mistaken. But in addition, it's also driven by a rocker switch. So, and there's a rocker switch on the top left hand corner of the panel where you use it to use the rocker switch to direct the nose wheel steering. And there's also a rocker switch in the steering pedestal. Really cool, really unique airplane, and of course that's also captured in A28. And in addition, they have they have the tablet, they have the piston simulation. There, all that's legit, but it's early access, which, in my opinion, their early access is on par with some final releases that we've seen here as of late. So I am not upset at it at all. They've already released a patch on it here as of couple days ago, I think. So hey, that's I don't know. I'm not so much as getting disappointed. It was I was really kind of hoping for that pressurized version, but it's still a fun airplane to fly. I've been flying the crap out of it. So if you're kind of looking to take a look at A2A's latest generation, highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. So, as far as flight simming, that's really all we wanted to touch on tonight. I know there's been some movement with Eagle Dynamics, of course. They just released their latest update. I have not been in DCS a whole lot. I did pick up the Corsair, which is early access, but man, that thing's a handful. But their World War II side, in my opinion, isn't 100% fleshed out. So I don't know. I tried it out a couple of times, but I'm going to kind of wait until things kind of simmer down a little bit. But as far as combat flight simulation is concerned, outside of DCS, I did end up picking up Falcon BMS, which I've heard this. I guess it's more like a mod for Falcon 4.0. Those of us who remember from way back in the day, like late 90s. Um, and picked it up. I've always heard on how well done it is, and how if you're looking for like a F-16 simulation, like this is the sim for you. And I was thoroughly surprised for a mod that's riding on software that was written back in the late 90s. Very impressed. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to tell you I'm a combat flight simulation aficionado, nor do I play one in the movies. However, it's very well done, and of course, it runs amazing. I think that was even in VR. I think that was the thing that stuck out to me. It's like, oh my gosh, this thing's freaking butter. Um, and it's free, so no one can be upset at free. But you know, is it something I'm just going to be just I don't know if is it going to take a whole lot of my time? Probably not. No, probably not. But if those of you guys are interested, definitely worth a try. All right, guys. So again, I know we touched on quite a bit. I know, there's a lot to unpack, outside of what we saw at Expo and the events that transpired or whatnot. But you know give the developers some time. I know we're just chomping at the bit to get our hands on some of these products and some of these releases. um Give them some time to get things developed, get things. I know we give Bluebird Simulations so much grief, but it's just because we're probably just as passionate about those nostalgic aircraft as they are, right? um Give them some time, let them cook, and we'll see it when we see it. In terms of real world aviation, there's been definitely some rumblings over there too. I know We just recently received the preliminary report for the Air India 787 incident. I know a lot of you guys have been following it, so I'm not going to get in a whole lot of details, but it looks like there's definitely some attention with the fill switches on the 787. Um, and I'm just actually looking at this article from Simply Flying. According to the FAA, Boeing and the FAA say that the 787 Dreamliner fuel switches are indeed safe, because you guys know there's a little ramp in the middle, so you have to pull up and then bring it down. That's definitely been a been a high emphasis on that functionality there. So I think there's still a lot that remains to be seen in this one. So we'll just have to continue and wait to see what happens. Another interesting topic that I saw. There's been a few instances, and I was hoping our good friend Mike would be with us tonight. But there's been a few incidences regarding GA aircraft that are sporting Continental engines. I know the latest one was a Cirrus that was sporting the Continental. I forget the variant, Continental engine or whatnot, but apparently they had an electrical failure and inadvertently a engine failure, which normally, and this is with any internal combustion engine that has a belt driven alternator. They let's say the alternator goes out to lunch, whatever, you still got that combustion process happening, and you lose power, but you still got a running motor. But apparently this particular design and cut of Continental engine had a direct driven or geared assembly that directly connected it to the prime mover, which is the engine. And so when the alternator went out or suffered some sort of catastrophic failure, it seems to have taken the engine with it. And it's like there's always there's already some ADs out regards to that, but I thought that was pretty interesting. Looks like there's the investigation is ongoing in regards to that. So it remains to be seen to I guess this latest incident here ended in some fatalities there. So thoughts and prayers go out to those that are involved, and hopefully we see we get some more feedback in regards to whatever needs to happen to mitigate this issue and prevent that from happening in the future. But aside from that, that's really all I seen here. And of course, any feedback you guys have, please reach out to us on our Facebook page, Instagram, and our website. And I believe on Spotify there also has a little feedback portion as well. And of course, YouTube, guys. Yes, don't forget YouTube. Please feel free to chime in there and provide what feedback you guys have, thoughts, concerns, what have you. Please post it. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to our good friends over at EFS, good friends over at HPG, and our good and you guys. You guys, that's I was trying to get it out, but it's been a Monday, guys. It's been a Monday for sure. And last but not least, our awesome Patreon backers. But guys, again, thank y'all for hanging out there with me here on this long but finally over Monday. Take care of yourselves and each other, and keep the blue side up. We'll see it.